Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It's Wednesday. I've been gone for the past few days. Let's take a look at some charts. Let's see what's been happening. Last week we had the potential for a decent down move based on a head and shoulders that is real, was real, is never not real. In my book, based on what I've seen, I never can be bullish seeing this pattern form. It tried to break down, it didn't. Any pattern you have, you should always keep in mind, it could be invalidated. It could go the other way. But you should have a bias in mind in that if you see an ascending triangle, you should expect something. If you see an Adam and Eve, you should expect something. That should just be the expectation. Anything can fail, anything can happen, but the technicals in a vacuum usually give you a heads up of where the market bias may be before the move happens. So we got a little bit of a dip and then we bounced. Got nowhere near the expected move, which was certainly deeper, 97, 94, 95, nowhere near that. You can also use the Williams fractals here for a re-entry. With the head and shoulder stuff, anytime you see a fully formed pattern, the breakdown entry is below the neckline, and then the invalidation is above the right shoulder. That's how it always is every time. Today, tomorrow, 10,000 years from now, that's always what it's going to be. That's what it was over here too, by the way. Right? We never quite got here. So unlike February, in this case, we have a move above 106.7. And so now it gets a little bit murky. Altcoins doing well-ish. A lot of people are going to want me to come on here and say it's alt season or something. I don't think we're quite there yet. Obviously, we're looking at some crazy moves today on alts, and that's fine. I'm always looking for what I want to see to take a position and be confident in direction just to a certain degree, right? So a lot of times there's just nothing for me. So alts look okay. Most of them aren't really trending. ETH certainly looking the strongest. That hasn't really changed. For BTC, what could we see from here? There is a few possibles. All of them point really to the same price, which is 120, 140. If we can hold on to these levels, you've got the inverted head and shoulders case. Sure, we've talked about that previously. Tons of other people have talked about that. You've also got just a cup and handle. Fine. Love it. I'll take anything. Take the high, take the low. In both cases, you're really measuring the same thing, and you get, in that case, 140 to 160, 120, 140, decent moves higher, right? As we're consolidating up here, but not bearish, alts can do well, or alts can catch up. And we're seeing similar themes in legacy with IWM, small caps catching up to Mag 7. Similar stuff I'm looking at on BTC. You still have this falling wedge breakout. Again, that target hasn't changed. 130, 140, 160, 170. It's something up there. We'll see what happens when we get there. We're above the 20 week. We're in the pitchfork resistance level. 122 is the immediate pivot. My question here is, with a couple weeks left in the quarter, again, people are going to say, well, seasonality doesn't mean anything. Historically, Q3 isn't the best seasonality-wise, usually because people with the money are on vacation. So do we have the juice to go to 150 in Q3? I'm not so sure. I think 120 is doable. I don't know about 150. Towards the end of the year, October, things can and do usually get pretty crazy. Then I think we may regain momentum. But it's really hard to say in the near term what to expect. Had a great April, had a great May, and now we have a little bit of rotation happening. One thing we do have on our side, on the bottom panel there, is commercials. In the BTC futures, caught data longer than ever, increasingly gotten long since April. On the top there's a back-tested cloud settings, 15, 37, 40, 18. This one still looks decently okay. It's just another version of the cloud. It's slightly faster. This is still fairly bullish. The cloud as well, still fairly bullish. Another thing relative to the head and shoulders, anytime I see a TKC clamp, I can't stay bullish either. And that's what we saw. Now, it didn't break down to where it could have, but not being 40x long was still correct. Recognizing the pattern and not being max levered, still correct in my book. It wouldn't surprise me if we continued to consolidate a bit here on BTC, but upside's clear. Just measure the fibs, take the depth of what we've seen so far, and it goes higher. One other quick thing on low time frame BTC, there was this flag that you'd want to see break up if you're trading this on a breakout above 110, and we should be good to go on low time frames. But right now it's kind of just chopping around. This is MSTR. I don't see anything personally on this. Now you could argue this whole thing is a mega inverted head and shoulders. You could say that. I don't hate that idea. The breakout level would be like 435, 440, something like that. Cloud doesn't hate it here. I thought this would break down to 320, 340. Didn't quite get that far. It looks okay. It's just, this is a confidence and sizing question. It's a leverage question. Do you want to be leveraged BTC here? That's the question. Some people would scream and then say yes. I just don't know. I don't feel confident in a big way that we look ready to bust higher here. So I don't hate sizing that down, but I just don't feel it. I don't feel it in my bones. But you can let me know. And on the MSTR side, I think we are down today a little bit. But if we start to crush some fractals higher, above 400, then that's a great sign. It's just still kind of in this weird range from November. And that's not a terrible thing that this thing keeps ranging. The longer the base, the higher in space. That's what they say. So I still like the potential of 800 to 1,000, but that could be Q4 or not Q3, just based on seasonality. Metaplanet to me looks tired. I would be very careful with this one. This was the Adam and Eve in 2024. Broke out, hit the target. Sure, it went higher. Consolidated for a long time. This was the most recent Adam and Eve on the daily. Broke out. You notice both times on the cloud, you had cloud breakouts. Measured move on the current Adam and Eve Plus is here. So this paired with the MNAV, you can say Asia's printing and Japan's in trouble with their debt. I'm not going to disagree, but at some point it's just not going to make sense for people to keep buying. So I'd be careful with that one. Coinbase, if you're bullish alts, if you're bullish Total 2, if you're bullish ETH, you're going to love Coinbase. They are one-to-one on correlations with ETH and Total 2. ETH looks better to me. It obviously broke higher recently. This could just be a flag here on Coinbase. I wouldn't hate it if it did nothing until Q4 and then exploded. The problem is Schwab looks great here. Hood looks great here. I wouldn't touch Hood personally just because it's like a 2x from year to date. But sure, there's a lot of people trading this and it's either in price discovery or almost in price discovery. But you've got other things that have momentum is my point here. That is not Coinbase. So I don't know. I don't really see anything that sticks out to me on that one. On the ETF front, we have had some positive flows for BTC this week. It's either been flat or up. So that's good, obviously. ETH clearly standing out here on its own, just that we're seeing a string of positive flows. Not something we've really ever seen a positive flow to this degree of this duration. That's the big thing. We can get these one and done big moves, but it's the confidence to keep adding, or whatever's going on the institutional side, thinking that ETH is a good play here. Somebody looked at the market cap adjusted flows, and the argument here is that the ETH flows are actually comparable to BTC flows. And I guess that's one way to think about it based on market cap. So there's clearly nothing bearish there about that whatsoever. That's what you want to see. You want to see the flows coming in. And if we look at ETH, we're above the cloud, we're above fractals, we're getting breakouts back to back on back-to-back days. There's really nothing to complain, nothing to worry about here, especially relative to the rest of the market. What else are you going to do? There's ETH beta, which we'll look at, which a lot of people like, but it certainly looks better than Sol. It's positioned better than Sol currently relative to the cloud. 3,000 makes sense, just measuring the depth of the pattern. Last week we were talking about a King's Castle head and shoulders, or just a breakdown here, and it just didn't happen, right? Didn't happen. And it looks okay for higher. So you've got DeFi, anything in the ETH ecosystem. I was looking at Lido today. This has some sort of inverted head and shoulders thing going on. Is it amazing? No, but if you like ETH beta, if you like DeFi, there's Pepe as well, is a clear fan favorite in the meme coin markets. I don't personally see anything here, honestly. I guess we could say Well, there's like a flag or something. And again, we could measure some stuff, measure the depth, take that higher. That gives you risk reward, entry exit, stop loss, that sort of stuff. Certainly one way you could trade that. I think the best looking chart right now to me is Maker BTC. I said the same thing about Sol BTC and it didn't go anywhere, but this chart still looks bonkers to me in a good way, especially relative to everything else in the market. I don't know what else looks as good as this. I love the consolidation since last year. I love the recent tight coil consolidation. And I love that it's in the cloud. Stop loss, new lows, target 04, something like that. Sol BTC hasn't really gone anywhere. Had a pretty large drop off there on the daily, kind of a rounded bottom. I don't see an entry that I'd be confident in here. At this point, when you fail the edge-to-edge move, I typically wait for the cloud to fully flip. And again, this could take us into Q4. So for most people, they could care less. They're just going to hold till the end of the year. That's fine. But if we're talking about a high conviction setup on Solana against Bitcoin, I don't see it here today. Aave is another coin that has broken out, continues to look good, continues to hold levels. Again, we were talking about head and shoulders type stuff here. I think that has failed at this point. So far so good for the ETH ecosystem, DeFi stuff. And then there's some other stuff like Link, like again, if you fail your head and shoulder, your edge to edge move, I just wait this one out. Wait it out. That's what I do. This is like July onwards. They could say this is a decent level, but what's the momentum here? I don't see it. It's just still in a huge range, and Sol is in the same conversation in that where is the setup here? I just don't see it. Now this could be a great level 3 to 6 months from now. I don't know, but here today, it's still in the range, right? Like, what is there to do? I don't know. There's no trend setup. There's no breakout setup. It truly and honestly needs more time for me to personally see anything that's there. And Ripple, it's been the same for months and months and months. It's just in the range. There's really nothing to do here. Doge, same deal. A lot of this stuff broke down and is bouncing and is still below where it broke down from. So I just don't have anything extra to say. Fartcoin's been all over the place. Just got listed on another exchange, but sure, you're probably trading this on low time frames. There's a 4-hour breakout. It's kind of like Robinhood to me in that it's already up, whatever it's up year to date. It's hard for me to justify to continue to trade this personally if I was. SWI also just in the middle of the range, not doing a whole lot. It's above the cloud-ish. I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other on most of these alts. ADA is the same as Ripple, just in a huge range. Nothing to do. Nothing for me. Absolutely nothing to do. You could put ENA in the ETH beta category. Doesn't look like anything spectacular, right? Like, is there a breakout trade here? Not really. Is there a trend trade here? Certainly not. It's still in the range. I don't think there's anything specific that's screaming at me right now for that one. Whereas back here, you had a very clear inverted head and shoulders attempt at a breakout. Now you had that back here, right? But that failed. That didn't go anywhere. So maybe this moves in Q3, but I doubt it just because everything else probably doesn't. Certainly a possibility. So for my style of trading, what I like to do, what I feel confident in, I don't really see much of that still in alts. To me, it's just a bunch of nothing burger stuff. But I think if you had to take a trade on anything, the focus would clearly be on ETH ecosystem, DeFi, that sort of thing in the moment. We're going to get a lot of people asking me about hype. I don't know if that's not actually on Kraken. If you're bullish Hyperliquid, the way I would do it is just hold it till January 1st and ignore it. I wouldn't trade it on leverage. I wouldn't trade it on a low time frame because if you really think that sort of thing's going to run, you got to give it time. But that's just me. All right, that was crypto and alts. Let's take a look at some legacy stuff in the back half of this video. BT is still following global liquidity. It's going to be hard to go down. When you've got positioning and liquidity on your side like this, it's going to be hard to go down when the dollar is melting below 98. If it does, this does not look like a bullish reversal pattern to me. This looks like bearish continuation here. Now, if this starts to curl up, if you get a W and it's through the cloud and it gets through 100, If this happens in Q3, then you'd expect certainly Bitcoin takes a breather, takes a pause, and maybe there's another attempt at a breakdown below 100 in Q4, and then BTC does better. But this does not look bullish for the dollar. This looks like bearish continuation at the moment. So that should be super bullish for crypto. On the CPI front, we had a print today below expectations. Next month's print for this month should be higher. Oil also pushing higher. This is going to eat away at some of the CPI gains. Not a lot of it, but some of it. It's not surging bullish, obviously, but it certainly looks like it's trying to bottom in the moment. And I think this is the key chart for Q3. If for whatever reason gold breaks up, BTC is unlikely to follow in the same time frame. If you'll notice in 24, and you can again backtest this, so you can look at any time gold is broken out, typically does not break out with BTC. Gold pauses in Q4, crypto goes crazy. So if this is an inverted head and shoulders on gold, if it breaks out to new all-time highs, I like 37.50. And in that time, you would expect BTC to chop around and do a bunch of nothing. So it's definitely something to watch for in the next couple months. We do have FOMC next week. I don't expect Powell to say anything that anybody doesn't already know. So I think it's sort of baked in, kind of a nothing burger meeting there. And the rest of the week's not really important to me. Retail sales next week, sure. But the big one's going to be FOMC. Inflation still ranging around 2%. It's been pretty volatile and noisy, but it's held below 2%. It's just next month, 2.6 currently. So what does the market do with that? I don't know. Just something to keep in mind. We had an unemployment print since the last video, I believe. That was fine, 4.2. Nothing to worry about there. So party on, right? Party on until that starts to pull higher. And I wouldn't expect the Fed to cut until that starts to pull higher. In their eyes, everything looks fine here, and they're not worried about it. And they're going to hold rates where they are. SPY looks, if you thought it was overbought last week like I did, it's even more overbought today. Nothing says this can't keep going forever and ever and ever. I'd slap a trailing stop loss on this if you were trading this and just be done with it. Is there a bear div here that's pending? Yes. Is this kind of rising wedgie? Yeah. Does it have a massive TKC clamp? Yeah. But so far so good. Clearly. Qs, same deal, same spiel. Trailing stop loss, rising wedge, bear div, overbought. Obviously, I don't like TQQQ up here. It just looks too overbought. It's it's like the COVID bounce. It's kind of crazy. IWM looks much more muted. A fresh breakout, and this is again similar to if you think SPY relative to IWM, BTC relative to ETH. IWM's breaking up. Textbook inverted head and shoulders there. Still has plenty of room to go. If BTC or SPY break down, you'd expect small caps, ETH to break down as well. But until that point, these look okay. These look okay for continuation. Here's Mag 7 ETF. Also looks fine, right? You did get a stop out criteria on the fractals. I think this was the Tesla down day. And then you get a re-entry up here, but there's nothing here that's bearish. It's overbought, sure, but it's certainly not bearish. So a lot of strength on the Mag 7. Crazy strength in semis as well. Certainly more overbought than the SPY or the Qs. And most of this would be NVIDIA. NVIDIA's like 5% from all-time highs. Again, what does this look like? Rising wedge, bear div, overbought. Just got to be careful. Just got to be careful. I don't like fresh positions up here. I don't like fresh leverage up here. This is AMD though, in the semis category. Kind of a laggard catch-up trade. Again, very similar to alts, right? If NVIDIA's BTC and NVIDIA's moved, BTC's moved, people are looking around on relative value. That's AMD. That's Marvell. Same trade, same idea, same setup. Inverted head and shoulders, edge to edge there on Marvell. IHS, Kuma breakout on AMD. So there's plenty of stuff to do. It's just, if we think about the whole universe, it's BTC and alts. A lot of that stuff is already moved, whereas the most lagging now is low cap, mid cap TradFi stuff. Even commodities also doing very, very well, playing the relative value catch up game. Here's another one, TER. Same deal, same setup. And there's a lot of this right now. You just got to look around. PayPal, same thing, right? Same pattern, same idea, same depth, measured move targets. It's all the same. You just have to choose what you want to trade and the sizing. Miners have also moved up with altcoins. Miners are altcoins. I don't know who needs to hear that, but it's true. Miners will move with small caps. Miners will move with alts. If you're trading miners here, you probably want to see 40 on WGMI. WGMI is the miner basket ETF. Had some great puke below the pitchfork. Last time I tried to take a trade on this was back here. Got stopped out on lower lows. Haven't had the courage to get back in, but it looks okay. You've at least got momentum on your side, right? And you've got relative value, market stuff moving in the right direction. And then in a similar vein to like CoreWeave and Circle, Metaplanet, some of this stuff certainly have to be increasingly careful. Now, you've had some insane people trying to short this on the way up. I don't know if I'd go that far here, but I certainly wouldn't be adding new position to a chart that looks like this. Now, it's low time frames. It's only like a month and a half, but I know people are looking at this. And I would just be careful. I like breakouts. I like higher highs. I don't like adding on lows. I don't like assuming this is going to bounce. This has already moved 3, 4, 5, 6x since the IPO. You know, at some point, you got to call it a day for a minute and let this thing reconsolidate, regardless of what's going on in the market. So I like small cap stocks over alts right now. I think there's plenty of places to trade. The issue is, of course, the percentage gains are not the same with altcoins, where you can get crazy volatility, crazy upside. So it just depends on what you want to do. You got to pick your poison. Go from there. With small cap stocks, you certainly have to be more patient for the moves and for the breakouts, but I like those setups here a lot more. That's all I got for this one. Give me a like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.